Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a game that I have played so much in my spare time, yet I rarely or never even made a video on it. It's actually becoming one of my favourite games of all time, and this is Star Wars Battlefront 2. Whilst as a child I loved to play the original 2005 Star Wars Battlefront 2 co-op split screen on my PlayStation, EA have done something incredible here. They've managed to turn something around that didn't exactly go to plan at the start into a game that has really got an insane community and a loyal community at that. Unfortunately, after EA and DICE announcing that they're stopping development on the game, there are so many things that the community wish were there. But something special happened in the last week, something that has brought people back and helped in the revival of Star Wars Battlefront 2. Back in November of 2017, EA released Star Wars Battlefront 2. Previously, with the first Star Wars Battlefront, a hard reboot to the franchise, people thought that game was okay. But Star Wars Battlefront 2's trailers had something incredible. 3 eras with all the troops, all the heroes that you can play as together. And it sent people wild. This was what we had wanted since 2005. With the cancellation of the Star Wars Battlefront 3, then we wanted all the eras being playing together, especially droids and clones, which we missed out from the original Star Wars Battlefront, and we wanted it now. But upon release, it didn't go too well. We all know the debacle about loot boxes and everything that came with that, and it very much left a sour taste in the mouth of pretty much everybody. But DICE didn't stop. They kept on going, they kept developing, bringing out updates, new heroes, and taking away completely any sort of pay-to-win elements. And here is what we are left with. Star Wars Battlefront 2, a fantastic game. The gameplay is brilliant. It has that more modern and updated feel, and it feels a little bit like Battlefield, but with definite Star Wars elements to it. You feel like you're shooting laser blasters. When you're heavy as the sentry gunner, you feel like you're holding a Gatling gun, spraying off bullets and taking down anyone in front of you. When you're playing as a Jedi or a Sith with a lightsaber, you can move so much faster and almost slide throughout the battlefield, using your sprints and dodges, even your lightsaber lunges to get from A to B in the fastest times possible. You feel like you have those abilities. Yet 3 years on from the release of the game, DICE stepped back. They told everybody that they are stopping development on Battlefield 5 and Star Wars Battlefront 2 to work on Battlefield 6. And whilst it was disappointing, it was kind of, acknowledged to be a sensible idea. Battlefield 5 was a disaster, selling less than half the amount of copies of Battlefield 1, and most of those copies being sold to people that didn't really like the game anyway. However, Star Wars had built up this community. It built up people that actually enjoyed a game, so even after development stopped, players kept coming back. They wished there was something more to it, and with this week making Star Wars Battlefront 2 free to play on the Epic Games Store, it brought everybody in. Now, it's not just free to play for the week, you could have claimed it within the week and then you can keep it forever. However, with this, the unexpected happened. Of course, people knew that more players would come in, and especially new players. It would be the invasion of the noobs, low-ranked people that you could just sweep away with ease, leaving it very easy to upgrade and level up yourself. But not only did the massive noobs come in, but they came in full flying form. Battlefront servers actually crashed, and it said they were full, which has only ever happened to a few games in the past, like GTA 5 when that was free on the Epic Games Store. And this made people wonder, will there ever be a Battlefront 3? With the massive amount of new players, DICE can see that people still want the game. I think it's very obvious that people actually enjoy this IP right now. If they advanced on it even more in another game later in the future, there's no way they can get it wrong. Right? I mean, despite everybody coming back and flocking to the game, there's still so much that people want from it. There's still so much content to be had, especially with The Mandalorian being the massive success that it was in the last few months. I think there's so much more to explore when it comes to different characters and even locations. Of course, there's the obvious, which people are talking about, adding in The Mandalorian himself as a hero. Also having Ashoka, which was the obvious, but that was already wanted from the Clone Wars being such a successful series in itself. Furthermore, many more from the Clone Wars, such as Bo-Katan, who also crosses into the Mandalorian, Thrawn, and maybe even Cad Bane, who is a bounty hunter, but really in the Clone Wars is a bigger character than most that we've seen. On the other side, of course, from the Mandalorian, we have people like Moff Gideon, who will play a large part within it, bringing in his Darksaber to play on the Empire side. But people have spoken about these heroes. But what about the different types of troops? I mean, you've got Dark Troopers now within the game. Dark Troopers are something that we've seen in expanded comics, and even way back in Pandemic's 2005 Star Wars Battlefront, we saw a similar type of Dark Trooper, Jet Trooper, with, of course, that amazing lightning rifle. What if that was to make a comeback, but using the Mandalorian interpretation of the Dark Trooper? An extremely powerful troop that you'd be able to play with in the battlefield, having that really strong mech arms, a jetpack, and of course the ability to withstand pretty much everything except from that dastardly Beskar spear. I just think, personally, this game needs more. There's so much more to explore within it, and people have gone so far into making mods. Of course, these mods won't work online, but offline you can play as Ahsoka, you can play as different characters that modders have made, and I'm showing you a few on screen now, but there's so many more and different things to explore. All these models have been made and they are okay to download, but why won't DICE do it? Well, like they said, they're working on Battlefield 6. Once that's done, will they come back to the Star Wars franchise? Well, it looks like it's possible. We've seen LucasArts bringing in many more new developers to help working on their Star Wars game. Now, EA doesn't have the sole license to that franchise. However, they can still make Star Wars games, and I reckon that Lucasfilm Games are still going to give that Battlefront license to DICE. I feel like DICE has done enough to redeem themselves at this point, where if they were given the chance, they probably would go ahead and want to make Star Wars Battlefront 3. Of course, it wouldn't have any loot boxes. Hopefully, they've learned from that mistake. I would love it to have all three eras, but even the individual bits between it. We saw Scarif in the original Star Wars Battlefront that was then ported over to Star Wars Battlefront 2. This was an in-between part in Rogue One. Why don't they do this with the Mandalorian? In between the original and the sequel series that we have in the game, you squeeze in the Mandalorian series there, with the different characters, maps, and so on that I've already explained throughout the video. But what do you think? Do you think DICE are going to come back with the Star Wars Battlefront 3? I think it's quite likely myself, especially since we've seen such a big revival with the Mandalorian in terms of Star Wars excitement and franchises. We've seen so many different TV shows and films that have been announced at Star Wars and Disney's Investors Conference. And I think this is an incredible time to be a Star Wars fan. One of the best in the last few decades, which is an incredible thing to say despite what's going on in the world at the moment. But hey, what do you guys think? Make sure you leave a comment down below. Do you think DICE are going to come back and be our saviors for Star Wars Battlefront 3? Or do you think that's it? Do you think they're done with the franchise and they're just going to use the Star Wars IP in different types of games? Who knows? But I guess time will tell. But until then, I will see you in the next one.